We are coming up on the 24th anniversary of the worst terrorist attacks upon the United States to date, September 11th, 2001. A lot of technological advancements have happened. A lot of evolution has happened since then. Obvious change within the public consciousness, within the technological areas of our life. Cell phones, smartphones, Blackberries, phones the size of a microchip, TVs, 77 inches. Long ago, the days of the rotary phone or the wire hanger on your TV, no more. Distant memories. Music, TV, sports, entertainment, everything has fundamentally changed. 24 years. And what I'm going to show you is the stagnant metabolical cell that is the 9/11 truth movement. They are holding a meeting, this particular movement headed by architects and engineers and the International Center for 9/11 Justice. And they're inviting speakers over the course of I think 3 days. It's to be held from the 10th to the 12th. And it's called Turning the Tide, 9/11 Justice in 2025. This is the banner. They're hosting the place of these venerated speakers at 2111 Decatur Place, Northwest in Washington, D.C. I just want to show you the venue of where this place is going to be. Here. This nice little Quaker hut. Very quaint, like in a quiet block on Decatur. Very nice area. This does not scream advancement. This does not scream a courtroom. This does not scream advancement or a threat to the establishment, not like a stadium would, where thousands will be held. The most 50 people. 24 fucking years. And this is where you will threaten the government with. You have no one to blame but yourselves to be where you at. Because one, you don't learn anything new. Two, you're steadfast in your beliefs. Three, you're no threat to the establishment. No one's bugging your phones. No one's blowing up your cars. No one's following you. They're allowing for you to exist in the same fashion that Alex Jones, who claims to be the biggest threat to the establishment, is allowed to get bigger every year. Meanwhile, they're killing journalists in Gaza who have a few thousand followers. Yeah. Now, I'm going to show you the set of speakers these people have. Now, on September 10th, new evidence, and heading this are the following. Dr. Aaron Good, one of the few people I actually like on this panel. Dr. Piers Robertson. Who? 9/11 International Center for Justice. He's on the board panel. No work regarding 9/11. John Cole. Heard his name before. What new evidence does he have? This is all based on World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7, mostly. Ted Walter, the founder co-director of director of 9/11 Center for Justice, International Center for Justice, who doesn't believe that hijackers can take planes and crash them into the Pentagon, Shanksville. He also questions the validity of the phone calls. And this is what you consider a speaker for new evidence. Richard Gage. Need I say anything more about this guy? 20 years. 20 years. This guy, let's just say 17, but I'll give him the whole 20. 17 years. All right? Rounded off to 20. All right? He talks about one issue, World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7. Where has it gotten him? Where has it gotten you? Ask any family member, where has it gotten them? Any type of lawsuit, any type of courtroom, any type of documents that's related to the judicial system to prosecute somebody for 20 fucking years. Nothing. What new evidence besides outside of Aaron Good? What is Piers Robinson, John Cole, Ted Walton, and Richard Gage going to talk about if they don't believe that hijackers are needed? And this is what Richard Gage once told me in a live stream 5 years ago, that the 9/11 truth movement doesn't pertain to having hijackers. And this is what you want to speak on your behalf? Your truth movement failed back then when you allowed the asinine and delusional beliefs to creep into your movement. Because in the beginning, you had reputable people. You had Kyle Hentz, you had John Judge. But they're all gone now, replaced by this. Because to you, you think quantity matters and not quality. The only reason why you allow these people into your ranks because at least they're against the government narrative. But there is no government narrative. There never has been. You were told that by the likes of Jim Fetzer, Ole Damgard, Alex Jones, Kevin Barrett, and all those laughably embarrassing self-professed experts who have zero experience or work in this field. Zero. I would even suggest that Robinson, Walter, Gage, or even John Cole for that matter, couldn't tell you the 5 original defendants in Guantanamo for the 9/11 attacks. They could probably name you 2, maybe 3, at the best 3 hijackers. And the reason why I'm saying this is because if they can't tell you the basics, how the hell are you going to have them speak on a subject that they know very little about? Now, the featured speakers, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, finally a senator. But I'm hearing disturbing things about Ron Johnson. But let's at least we have a senator after all these years. Kurt Weldon. I think Kurt Weldon's running with the wrong crowd, but at least he's going to talk about Abel Danger. Thank God. Kiriakou, out. Why is Clayton Morris a featured speaker? Here's a broad of the highest levels, a right-wing demagogue who has zero experience in this field. The featured speakers I would have had, Kiriakou, Thomas Drake, Mark Rossini, Anthony Schaefer. That's who I would have had. And you could have gotten them had you had a respected dais over the next 3 days. Now, September 11th, reflection and action. Progressiveness, right? We're talking about action, movement, truth, movement, moving where? Backwards or forwards? Well, look who we got here. Matt Campbell, whose brother was killed, I think, in the North Tower. Bob McIlvaine, whose son was killed in the, I think, the lobby or in the elevator. Eric Lawyer, a fireman um, who is, just a follower of Richard Gage and architects and engineers, I really don't have like any criticisms of him, really. Jason Burmis, loose change. Need I say any more? Still believes, at least he's not a total nut job, but he still believes that the planes were drones at the World Trade Center, and he doesn't believe that a plane crashed in Shanksville or at the Pentagon. Luke Radowski, you're not moving forward, not with this group. You could talk about pro action all you want. You could talk about rah, rah, rah. We're going to get the people behind us. You've chosen poorly to speak about this with these people. I'll tell you who you could have had. I would replace Loya, Burmis, and Radowski, keep McIlvain and Campbell, and I would have replaced them with the Jersey Widows. The real truth movement that didn't need to call themselves the truth movement. It was only until after they dropped out that you guys replaced them with the likes of Judy Wood, Barbara Honegger, Rebecca Roth, and Christopher Bolin, and all the other disgusting idiots who don't believe in planes and hijackers and can't move forward, because if you don't have planes and hijackers, you don't have the intelligence services monitoring these people, collecting intelligence on these people, foreign and domestic. And without foreign and domestic intelligence, you don't have the government involved, because the government involved is getting what? Intelligence from who? The intelligence services, or the withholding of intelligence to allow the attacks to happen. So now you can't prosecute anybody. Finally, the worst panel of all, September 12th, Pentagon discussion. "24 years. We went from the beeper to the smartphone. We went from the attacks to the anti-attacks. There were no attacks. What planes? What hijackers? What Maida? Leading it off, Mick Harrison. Unimpressed. Where's he been in court? Still fighting? How long has it been now, Mick? 15 years? I'm not picking on you specifically. You ran with the wrong crowd. I think you are in too long to basically say, I'm stepping away from this, because they're not going anywhere. And as long as you follow Barbara Honegger, and as long as you follow Richard Gage, you will go nowhere. Next up, Xander Arena. Who? Who's this guy? Google his name. Google his name. Any detailed work on the subject? Any studies? Has he discussed this with anybody? Any roundtable discussion with anybody on the opposite end? Has there been anything besides him going on maybe one or two shows over the last, 6 years? And where's it gotten him? BitChute. Craig McKee, the lowest of the low out of anybody here. A decaying mummy from Canada who doesn't believe in hijackers, hijacked planes, doesn't know what happened, can't tell you what happened, doesn't have an opinion about what happened at the Pentagon Shanksville, and won't tell you. He's disgraceful above the board. Dismiss him entirely. Incredibly. Architects and Engineers has him as a featured writer, which means your organization has no credited value, none whatsoever, no respectability. You can have 3,000, you can have 30,000 architects and engineers. As long as you allow people like this to represent you, you will never be taken seriously ever. You will never smell a courtroom, much less the halls of a courtroom. Barbara Honegger, one of the biggest inside threats to your movement. Here's somebody who was involved with October Surprise under the Reagan administration, running around in a bunny suit on the lawn, X-rays hitting Reagan's head, filling him with thoughts, then disappears for the next 15 years, and all of a sudden appears out of nowhere during the April Gallup lawsuit, involves herself with William Veal, who and the April Gallup lawsuit, and changes Gallup's story. Now, if you go and listen to April Gallup's testimony at the Library of Congress, she changes her whole attitude. In that interview, she says that she couldn't see any plane when they asked her because she fainted. After meeting Barbara Honegger, she then says, I didn't see a plane, but she never said she fainted. That's in written and oral and written testimony. And now, where's April Gallup? Nowhere. The 9/11 Truth Movement, so desperate for the numbers, they allowed anybody to walk in as long as it opposed this official narrative, which none of these people, none of them, could tell you what the narrative is. I tried over the years. Barbara Honegger is what I would call a near plant. I can't prove she is. But here's somebody who claims that I'm against the government. Meanwhile, she worked for ex-government, blamed me as an agent, yet she worked under the Reagan administration, the father of neoconism. And here we are. She's allowed in the movement to propose the most ridiculous, fantastical theories. And every theory she has changes over time. A white plane crashed into the Pentagon. 77 didn't crash in the Pentagon. It was a drone that crashed into the Pentagon. No, it didn't crash in the Pentagon. It crashed at the heliport. No, it was a white plane that crashed into the heliport. It was a helicopter that shot the plane at the heliport. And fascinatingly and shockingly, with this comes the one lone sane guy in David Chandler, who, by the way, at one point was the face of the 9/11 Truth Movement until he changed his views, along with Wayne Costi and Ken Jenkins, about Ken Legge or Frank Legge, the late Frank Legge, where they said, yeah, a plane actually did crash in the Pentagon. It was Flight 77. What did Barbara Honegger lead the charge with? That David Chandler is not a truther. And Craig McKee and Barbara Honegger got their mob to oust David Chandler out of every truth movement because this ridiculous acidic mindset poisoned the whole movement. Why he's there, I don't know. Maybe he's a sadist. He should bow out completely and not want to be within 50 blocks of this group. 24 years. And this is what we're left with to speak on the public's behalf on the events of September 11, 2001. Over the years, I've challenged most of these people to a debate in an open forum. Not on a right-wing forum, not on a left-wing forum, but face-to-face, alone, in Zoom, on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere. None of them would. Now, I know they can't. Now, I'm not saying I'm the expert. I know a little bit about 9/11, little tiny bit. That's it. I don't go around saying I'm an expert. I don't go around asking money for my efforts. I don't go around begging people to put money on my Patreon account because I don't have one. And it's for reason because that's what Richard Gage does. That's what Luke Radowski does. That's what they do. I don't feel with the work I provided to the public over the years that I'm deserving of anything, especially in this day and age where you need every dollar. I do it because I want to empower people with information in the hopes of creating a public consciousness of togetherness with verified information, because information is fucking power, where we can actually demand a new investigation and a movement that involves everybody from the right and left and black and white or whatever fucking religion you believe in to come at one conclusion that there was missed evidence, unexplained anomalies regarding the events of September 11, 2001 for the attacks to be successful. That involves domestic and foreign intelligence. But if you don't believe in hijackers, if you don't believe in hijacked planes, you don't have hijackers to begin with. You don't have intelligence services that followed these people in the 2 years prior to 9/11. If you don't believe bin Laden or Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or Ramzi bin al-Shib, Tawfiq bin Attash, Mustafa Hawsawi, Abdulaziz Ali, Omar al-Baluchi, Mohammed Atef, Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, Mahmoud Salim, Dr. Imam al-Sharif, or any of these people even existed to begin with, then that means that the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, have no involvement whatsoever in terrorism because there is no terrorism. The only terrorism is you believe that Dov Zakheim and every Jew on the face of the fucking earth, with a few Saudis, patsies here and there, to exist somewhere in the edifices of the shadowy world of mystery that are piloting drone planes out of nowhere while everybody in the public sector, within the FAA, within the eyewitnesses accounts, within the intelligence services, with everybody that testified, and there were tens of thousands of people in the largest FBI investigation in the history of the Bureau, outside of every independent investigator over the years, they all are wrong. They're all in on it. They're inside jobs. And everybody that saw a plane at the Pentagon, well over 100 people, and everybody that was at Shanksville that saw the plane and heard the plane crash in Somerset County, they're all liars too, because you allowed for CIT and Pilots for 9/11 Truth and architects and engineers and the 9/11 International Center for Justice to represent you because you think that hijackers and hijacked planes represent the government's narrative, and the government's narrative needs to be opposed at all costs, even if you believe in the most retarded and most ridiculous of theories. But at least we're together. 24 fucking years. And the best you could do is a movie about 9/11 in a fictional courtroom that Richard Gage is making, and a Quaker hut that seats about 75 elderly people. The threat to the establishment is not you. The threat to your people, to the people, and to the movement is you. You destroyed the movement. You destroyed any future discussions about this subject without mocking laughter from the public. You destroyed any type of serious moderated debate. And this is the reason why you belong in the shadows. Thanks to you, we have made no progress in the court system. And if your default position is, well, we can't trust the court system because they'll never prosecute, then what are you doing this in the first place for? I know why. Yes. Because it's not about money, it's about grifting. If it's not about grifting, it's about staying relevant. It's not about staying relevant, it's about being popular. And if it's none of those things, then you are a fucking plant. Or you're a sociopath. Either of those options are not productive, and they're not a benefit to anybody, and not even you. And that's what I have to say about that.